Vitality Stadium. Their involvement joined by his partner, both in tears, embracing each other. A tremendous, tremendous night for him and the people on board. But those cards all over the place, just to read them out for you one more time. 112, 112, 116, 107 and a 115, 108. I was just totting up the possibilities of how people could interpret the point deductions. Now I personally scored that fight 112, 112, right? But if I've gone the other way with the point deductions and given 10 8s instead of 9 9s, it's way in favour of Billam Smith. It's way in favour of Billam Smith. I think the conclusion is Lawrence Okolie did not win that fight.
And such was the narrative on Saturday night, May 27, 2023, as Lawrence Okolie defended his WBO cruiserweight title against Chris Billam Smith. A bout that many had favored Okolie going in. But there was a strange narrative to this fight that the two men had known each other and faced one another in the gym many times, as they were once stablemates. Let's talk about it further. When you talk about championship fights, you always need to include the intangibles. That comes from my colleague, Curtis Anderson, aka Kurt Sugar. And we saw that play out this past Saturday as Lawrence Okolie took on a familiar foe and Chris Billam Smith for his WBO, World Cruiserweight title. This fight was a matchup between two men who were so familiar with one another, having bled and sweat in the same gym for a number of years. And now was the time that they were going to face one another for the championship. Okolie, who was the champion entering the bout, had come in with his record of 19-0 with 14 KOs, has now fallen to 19-1 after the upset. This fight was really weird, marred by point deductions and knockdowns that were totally unexpected. And Billam Smith, who came in with his record, looking to take it to the sauce. The gentleman, as he's known, came in with his record of 17-1 and 12 KOs. As he challenged in this fight, he looked to take the fight to Okolie, but Okolie did not cooperate in the manner of which you might think. He did a lot of grappling, a lot of holding, to the degree that the referee had to assert himself on more than one occasion. And it was very unfortunate because the referee, Marcus McDonald, gave Okolie so many chances in this fight, but he fought in a way that really made the crowd anxious, including Billam Smith. There was time after time repeated clinching and mugging of Billam Smith. Okolie would shoot a jab or paw with it and reach out and grab, or grab into a headlock, or wrap his arms around Billam Smith, not engaging in very much action, occasionally trying to throw a right hand bomb, seeing that his right hand is his main weapon. But it was an ugly fight, to say the least, which saw Okolie, I don't know if he feared Billam Smith's power and just didn't want to give him any chances to get off, but there was no way that you can win a fight in the way that he fought. Henry Akinwande once challenged Lennox Lewis for his heavyweight title and was DQ'd for excessive holding. The same could have happened on this night, and I'm sure the referee did not want to take points away to the degree that Okolie would lose his title on a DQ. But I'm telling you, he flirted with it. There were times that we saw knockdowns of Okolie in the 4th, the 10th, and the 11th rounds, respectively. And he did not look like a guy who belonged in the ring. He looked very amateurish. He didn't have any answers. And of course, it was noted that his trainer, Sugar Hill Stewart, was in his corner, who had worked the corner of Tyson Fury on several fights and who had garnered some sort of respect. But where was the boxing skill set? Where were the tools by Okolie? They were totally absent on this night. And as I listened to the ringside instructions, it didn't sound like Sugar Hill Stewart had many answers for Okolie in how to attack, let alone defend against Chris Billam Smith. As they engaged, you could see that when Billam would throw his shots, Okolie was very anxious, looking to not get hit by anything, and would just reach out and grab and clinch and hold, to the point that it was totally frustrating Billam Smith. But he kept his head about himself. He stayed in the fight and engaged. On several occasions, when he was able to release his hands, he was able to do some damage. And I saw a clean left hook hit Okolie on the chin that dropped him in that 4th round. It was very clean, and it didn't look like Billam Smith had got a lot on it. I just wonder what would have happened had he had enough space to be able to operate from a certain range and get his shots off without all of the clinching and the holding and wrestling. There was even an occasion where Okolie pushed him into the ropes, and it looked like he was trying to push him through the ropes. I'm like looking at this and I'm saying to myself, I'm like, my goodness, where is this man's boxing technique? It has totally left. Now, I've called him the mummy in the past because he reaches out and holds a lot. But on this night, it was so excessive. Like I said, a DQ could have been in order. Where was the range, the establishing of the jab, to use the ring to step around and to box outside, keeping Billam Smith at bay? I did not hear Sugar Hill Stewart giving any of those instructions. And it was very frustrating for the audience as well, because every time there would be a moment of established rhythm, here goes Okolie in with the meat cleaver, grabbing and chopping and pushing and pulling. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous as I'm watching the action. However, the silver lining in it is this, people. Even when someone is not the most skilled of fighters, and that in this instance be Billam Smith, but also Lawrence Okolie, a fighter can have fortitude and stay in there, the stick-to-itiveness that something can break through. And that's what Billam Smith was able to do in this fight. He was able to break through and score knockdowns. And it looked like Lawrence Okolie was totally lost in this fight. I don't know what his game plan was coming in, but looking at it overall, he didn't look like a more capable fighter than his opponent. And I wonder, because he has stated that there's going to be a rematch. He's looking to exercise his rematch clause. Will he be able to perform better? Who knows? But I'm sure that the people don't want to see this again. It was not very appealing to watch that type of action. And as everything wound down, you could see how the judges were scoring this. They had it after the knockdowns. Diana Drew's Milani had it 116 to 107. Benjamin Rodriguez had it 112 to 112. And Bob Williams had it 115 to 108. All scored in favor of Chris Billam Smith, with the exception of Rodriguez's tie on his scorecards of draw. That means that with the knockdowns and the point deductions, that he would have scored the fight in favor of Okolie. And I'm sorry, it was not that close. It was not. Like I said, they could have deducted a point to disqualification on Okolie's behalf. There was 1 point deducted for holding in the 5th and 1 deducted in the 7th. The fight went the distance. Billam suffered a cut over his left eye from a clash of heads, but even late in the fight, you could see that Okolie had no answers. He didn't try to throw punches and combinations. He didn't try to establish something where he could get a certain distance and fire and let loose. He was just looking to hold on and hold on and hold on. It was a very lackluster effort, and embarrassment also for Lawrence Okolie. I'm sure that he may have thought in his mind he was a better fighter all along than Chris Billam Smith, but on this night he looked more the amateur than Billam Smith did, even knowing that he's had the success that he's had becoming a world champion. I don't know what to make of Lawrence Okolie going forward. I know that if he's going to continue to battle in the way that he did on Saturday night, I really don't want to see him anymore. It's not a crowd-pleasing act, and it's not very professional. But let me know what your thoughts are. What did you think of this fight, and how did you score it? This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know, do you want to see a rematch between these two? And you know that Boxer and Matchroom like to put on their rematches. We'll see what happens, but it won't be pretty. Maybe we'll get a chance to see Billam Smith defend one before he gets right back in there against Okolie. Hopefully something will change. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.